I'm gonna try stitching at my desk. So I normally move to my table, but I think that is so frustrating because sometimes I forget something and I have to like run back and forth to my desk. So I'm gonna try and avoid that. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just bringing my pattern up. I couldn't remember what colors. I have a bunch of colors. Okay, so we're gonna use 3 colors today. So we're gonna go our 2 browns, so 801 and 434, and then our red is 3777. All right, are we ready? Are we excited? I'm excited. I think I might, sorry, I have to figure out how this is gonna work best. With my big giant hoop stand, I might need ooh. I need something else to hold that. That will tip. Maybe it won't. Okay. I'm sorry, I should have gotten this done before. Okay. I think that will work. Okay, so today we are going to work on the houses down in the bottom right corner. I'm gonna do each house one color. Now, the things that I'm stitching, you can do it your way if you want to use different colors or stitch them differently. I'm showing you what I personally would do, but you are welcome to do things differently if you want. So okay, I'm gonna have to go from above. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna change this again. I don't love this hoop stand like this. It's hard to stitch. So I was trying to do things differently and I just don't think I'm gonna be able to. Okay, that should be better. Okay, so we're gonna work on these 3 houses first. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. So this one I'm imagining is like a little log cabin. So I'm gonna start with just the lighter brown, the 434. Very full house today. I'm gonna start with the 434 and then I'm gonna go back in and do some darker strands to make it look more like a log cabin. So let me cut a little piece off. If this is your first time stitching, I would recommend always pull from the number end so that you don't have a problem with this getting knotted up. Usually if you pull from this end, you're more likely to have knots. So pull from the end with a number. I am going to use 4 strands on this house because I'm gonna be adding some extra lines in there. No, I'm not. I'm gonna use all 6. I'm gonna use all 6 strands. You can definitely use less. 6 strands is gonna make it look pretty like thick and plush, a little bit bulkier. So if you want something that's a little bit smoother, a little bit smoother, you could go with 4. So what I would recommend if this is your first time stitching is to get a length of thread that's like, if you pull your arm out straight, that it goes like from your fingertips to your armpit or slightly shorter. If you're an experienced stitcher, you can probably get away with a little bit longer. I generally stitch with longer, so. All right, so what we're gonna do first is a satin stitch. So a satin stitch is a really good stitch to use for like full coverage. Like we're gonna cover this whole thing. So our lines are just, we're gonna stop like at the windows and stuff. So a satin stitch is stitches that just lay right next to each other. So I'm gonna start down here in the corner. You can start wherever you want. You know what, yeah, let's start here. Oh, tie a little knot at the end of your thread so it doesn't pull all the way through. I didn't even show you threading a needle. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I forget when it's day one. Okay, so usually, your threads have, embroidery thread has 6 strands in there. So that's what I was talking about. If you want to pull like 2 of these out, you just separate those and then these will untwist so that you can use less strands. So to thread your needle, I usually flatten it I get it wet with the tip of my tongue and I flatten it, and then I can get it to just slide right in and then pull that through. So you're gonna have a tail. While you're doing embroidery, just make sure you don't tie this in, like that it stays short enough that it's not being tied into your work. You don't want it to like have your tail and your working piece of thread in there, so. Okay, and then we're gonna come from our corner and work our way into the center. So satin stitches, we want to keep them smooth, parallel, to keep them nice and straight. So because we started here, I'm always gonna start over here. I know some people will come up right here and move back this way and then go up a little and move back this way. That is totally doable. I personally don't like to, because I feel like my threads don't lay as flat, they don't lay as straight. I prefer to do it traditionally and just start at the side you started on. So then it'll be like full coverage on the back and front. I feel like it'll hold your threads a little bit better. So that's what we're gonna do. So as much as you can, stay on a straight line, especially if you're working on linen. Mine is a little bit off, like my linen is going this way instead of like this. But if yours is in there straight, you should be able to stay on a straight line so that your houses don't end up looking kind of crooked. But that's it. We'll just work our way all the way up. And then once we get to, like right now, we're stopping at the door. So when we get like to the windows, we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna stop once we get there, because we don't want to cover them up. We're gonna do something else with them. And I have my iPad up, so if you have any questions while I'm working, please feel free to bring up your questions. This is like one of the super basic stitches of embroidery, just being able to get like a nice smooth thread on there. See, I'm not quite going to the line on my house or on the door, because I think it would make it look a little bit crooked. So sometimes I follow my pattern, but not like exactly sometimes. Okay, so once we are at the bottom of this window, we're gonna come over here and we're just gonna go to the edge of our window. And then same, we're just gonna keep going like that and just fill this section next to our window. Is that 6 strands of 434? Yes, all 6 strands. You could use 4 if you wanted it to be a little less like chunky looking. But I like the chunky. Oh, that one was off a little bit. Now we're gonna do a different stitch for the roof. So once you get kind of up this way, don't start doing this roof section because we're gonna do something different for that. Okay, so once I get up here, then I'm gonna start working up this curve and I'm gonna go all the way across the house again. So I'm just gonna come over here and do over by the window and to the edge of the house. So I can finish that space. Oh man, that one wasn't straight either. We're gonna outline our windows, so I'm not like super concerned if the windows don't look great because we will outline those. Go between, there we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and do this little tiny piece between the window and the door. And then I'll come back over here and do the other side of the door. Edge is not very straight. Can you guys hear my music? I thought it would be a nice little background noise without being too obnoxious. All right, almost done with this, and then I will tie it off. And then I will show you the side of the house. Okay. So now I could come up here. Well, maybe I should, while I still have thread on my needle, come up here. So with the round window, same thing, just making sure we're stitching around it so that we can keep that window shape. Bend this down a little bit so I can see. It's really, really hard to get it circular. So if you need to make this rectangle or something, feel free. So I'm gonna go down on one side of the window and I'm gonna come up on the other side of the window just so I'm not just going back and forth if I don't have to. And I'll go back over here. Let's see. Almost out of thread. I think I'm gonna be able to finish this little section. Darn. That's okay. I have more thread. Oh, maybe I will. This is what we call thread chicken. Will the thread make it? Nobody knows. Gosh, we did. Okay. Now, we're gonna put like a roof line on this, so I'm not gonna get too crazy about the top being an exact point. I'm just gonna leave it like that, off a little bit, and then we'll do like a roof line on it. Okay, so to tie off, see how much it covers the back? This little piece is when we went from the bottom up to do the top part. Okay, so I just like to grab a little bit of thread, and then I just bring this around and tie a little knot. I try and pull a knot so that my fabric will lay behind the stitches. So when I trim this, I try and tie it so that the little tail is like gonna be covered up by the other threads. So, okay, let me grab out some more thread. So we want this next part to be at a little bit of an angle so that it looks a little more 3D. Is that the word? A little more to scale. Okay. So I'm gonna start in the same spot I did last time, just remembering that I started here last time, so I have a knot right here. So I'm gonna just come underneath and just pull that knot with my fingertip just so it's out of the way so I can go up in that same hole. Because then my two sections will connect nicely because I'm using that same hole. And then when I go down, I'm going down up here at the edge of the house. So instead of being like straight like this, it's gonna be at an angle, so that it's different than the front. And that is really, really, really close to the inner hoop. So what I'm doing is kind of going down at an angle so that I'm not, if I'm going straight down, I'm gonna hit that inner hoop. So if you go down at an angle, then you can kind of slide it past that inner hoop a little. It still is super close, but hold on. I didn't quite draw this at enough of an angle. I want it to be this same angle as the bottom of the house. So when we start getting close to that, it'll be more angled. Okay, so while I work my way up, I'm gonna try and use all of these same holes on this side so that it meets up nicely. So same thing when I get up here, I'm gonna go down kind of at an angle so that I don't try to punch into that inner hoop. Let's see. This line is not going to be straight if I don't draw it a little bit straighter. Almost past that inner hoop, so I don't have to go down at quite a steep angle. Okay, so I feel like that's good coverage for the bottom of my window. So this part, I'm just gonna stop at the edge of the window. Oh, that was too much of an angle, hold on. So I wanna keep that angle the same, even though I'm not doing like one full line. I still want to keep that angle as much the same as I possibly can. I'm going to do the same thing as I was doing with my rounded window at the top, and I'm just going to stitch behind that. Normally, so we're going to stitch these windows so that they're yellow. If this was going to be blank and nothing stitched in there, then I wouldn't stitch behind it like I'm doing, because you'd be able to see that from the front, but we won't be able to see that because we're going to stitch over that. Like normally I would come back over here and stitch again, but we're going to cover those up. See, even this roof line is a little off. I'm getting a little bit more angled though. That's one tricky thing, is making sure that you don't like keep making these like more and more angled, like keeping them as parallel as possible. I might have to do some. So I'm starting up just a little bit higher here than I normally would, so that I can do this one right next to it and kind of start to bring, that's a little bit less angled. This is why I like to stitch houses on Aida. The Aida keeps everything straight. See, even right here. Man, I'm gonna have to redo this. I get into the groove and then I forget to pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna start over here and do another big one all the way across and see. Yeah, I'm gonna redo that. I won't redo it in front of you guys, but I'm gonna redo that. Okay, so work all the way across until you get to the roof line, and then we will do the roofs tomorrow. So I'm gonna end this here for a minute because I am not going to finish stitching that because I'm gonna redo it. So let's talk about what we're gonna do next. So today we're gonna do this brown. Oh, I was gonna do, hold on. I was gonna do some extra lines in there to make it kind of look more log cabin-y. Okay, hold on. Let's do that before we end for the day. Okay, so I got my 801. What I'm gonna do is just get 2 strands of it. So separate out 2 strands and then just slowly pull these apart. They'll just untwist as long as you go slow enough. If you go too fast, then it'll make a knot. Kind of like it's doing right there, twisting up on itself. So keep that from happening by just pulling it slowly. Okay, so I'm just gonna take 2 strands and do a few lines just on the front to make it look a little bit more like a log cabin. All right, I'm gonna tie a little knot. Okay, so I'm gonna start over here and I'm gonna do about every other, like I'm gonna do like 2 stitch between every 2 stitches. So about right there. And then I'm just gonna slide my needle between those 2 stitches. And then I'm gonna count up 2. And this is totally optional. If you like it just brown without the little extra, you can just leave it. You don't have to do this little extra step. Since I'm not doing satin stitch, I already have the satin stitch down, and to just save a little bit of thread, I'm gonna come up here, down here, and then up here, down here. So I'm just gonna go up another 2. So since I have, I already have these stitches that are a little bit thicker, I can kind of see where I've gone down. So I can use them as a guide to keep my, like my log cabin lines a little straighter, a little bit more even. Just make sure you do the same, like if you are starting at the bottom here, then start at the bottom on the other side. So I went up 2, so I'm gonna do up 2 on that side as well. Giselle says extra all the way. Yeah, whoop. Giselle likes to do extra. Wait until she starts sharing her progress. I'm gonna go from here down to here because we're gonna stitch this door as well, and so I'm not worried about trailing threads. I'm just gonna move down here. Okay, so your homework is to finish stitching the 3 houses. So they're all gonna be the same, as in, let's see, so I'm gonna go all the way across. They're all gonna be satin stitched. You can do all of them as little cabins, little log cabins. I'm gonna do this one red, and I'm gonna do this one a dark brown. And we're gonna do the same thing, straight on the front and then angled on the side. Obviously, I still need work on that. It's harder when I'm talking, so, but the same thing. And then leave the roof and leave the roof. We're gonna do a different stitch with that tomorrow. So I'm gonna let you do that while I pull this out. Once I get my log cabin stitched, I will post a picture of it in my stories, so that you can see what that looks like all done. And then we'll come back tomorrow and do the roofs, and then we will keep moving along. So let me know if you have questions. Send me a message or comment on this video, and I will get to you as soon as I can. Have a good Monday, and I will see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye.